Look forward to working with Amelia and all of you on historic preservation items. I do have quite a bit of experience working with HBCs and landmark commissions in the past, and it's something I specifically looked for in a community. Was a community that had some history with it that really, especially in your in the downtown area. I think that's really vital and crucial, and just something special that sets this community apart from others. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me an email, or my info's all online. I don't have my business cards yet, but you can find me under Economic Vitality. Happy to meet with any of you anytime you'd like. So that's all. Just really wanted to say hello and kind of listen in on one of these meetings, and perhaps we'll see you at more. And again, working with Amelia, we've already talked about, I think, 2 potential properties that are looking. I mean, I know it's a long shot and it takes a while, but 2 properties that are looking at the potential for becoming landmarks. So, thanks.
Great, welcome. We're glad to have you. And I think we have talked with our previous state conference. That was a lot of the discussion, was economic vitality and how downtowns and historic areas contribute to that. So we're excited to be a part of that. So thanks for being here tonight.
Are those commercial properties you're talking about downtown?
Yes, there are actually 2 downtown properties. I think it was just 2 right now that I've got, made some contacts on. So, yeah, you're welcome. I guess I would just add that is something that Amelia and I have talked about already, is working with the community or working with the commercial property owners, trying to build some more awareness and education around the programs for historic preservation.
All right. Do you want to go ahead to the other items from staff, or do you want to come back to those after the probable cause? It's up to you.
Director Zucchero, does it matter if we bounce to probable cause and then go back, or should we finish items from staff?
Did you formally amend the agenda at the beginning? I missed that roll call, so
Did we amend it to items, or do we amend it to April?
Well, I said items from staff where we'll meet the new staff person.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal just to go through them at the end, just like our normal course.
Okay.
And I think that'll make more sense so we can get to the
That's
business
fine.
items.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure. All right, so our next item is probable cause for 1045 Front Street, and we'll have a staff report.
Okay. Okay, so yes, this is the probable cause item for 1045 Front. It's a request to find probable cause for the property at that address for the purpose of potentially granting an historic structure assessment grant. So before you is the general location of the property, and then the location a little bit closer up. As usual, it's just a couple blocks north and 1 block east of where we are now. Here's a quick look at some of the historic conditions. So this is another, we've actually seen a couple of these recently, but this is another rare case where we have a photograph from the early 20th century. So you can see it in that cool little picture up on the top left. And then the 2 other images are from the 1948 assessor's card showing the footprint and the, let's see, that's the northeast corner of the house. Here are a few of the photos that were in your staff packet about showing what the house looks like today. This is from Front Street, and then the corner of Front and Short up there. So you can kind of get a sense what it looks like now. And then in terms of the conditions over time, so we've seen a number of these at this point this year already, the national style, so that kind of more simple style associated with that first third of the 20th century. The front edition, it looks like, you can see in the 1948 photo and in today. It doesn't look like that's historic in terms of original, but it does, it was there in 1948 in basically the same form as it is today. Relatively unchanged footprint since 1948. We know that from the assessor's card. The side windows, as is evident when you look at these 2 pictures, have changed. The front also may have changed, but you can definitely really clearly see the actual completely different arrangement of windows today. And then you can see that sort of extended portico or that open porch that's also an addition since the mid-century. The roof has also changed, and it also looks like the siding is a bit wider. So the siding's also changed since mid-century. So just because this is our first probable cause of the year and with the full new commission, I'll just give a brief overview. This is basically a grant or a request to approve a grant for up to $4,000 toward a historic structure assessment. This is typical first step in the landmarking process. You can think of the criteria sort of as landmarking light, so it'll look basically the exact same as what you're familiar with from a landmarking perspective, but I would say the benchmark isn't quite as high in terms of, is this actually a landmark? That's a different, that's a sort of different hearing and a whole different question. And so I'll just briefly go through the review criteria that were in your staff packet. So of course, this is older than 50 years. It's about 118 years old. It's built around 1905. Has a number of really interesting social connections. The mining history, of course, connection of particular interest is the connection to one of the residents to the Monarch Mine explosion of 1936. Also, one of the things that Bridget Bacon noted in her report was that it has a long history of women property ownership, being the sole owner of the property, and also that this is was a multi-generational home in terms of both ownership and occupancy. So a lot of those women and their daughters held on to the home, for generations. And then in terms of the architectural significance and the physical integrity, we would say that it does meet that criteria, given that it does retain the national style footprint, and also, the siding and the window changes, could be changed back. Although, of course, seeing a window change is always a little hard on the heart, but otherwise, pretty good physical integrity. So with that, staff is recommending that the Historic Preservation make a finding of probable cause, which would make this property eligible for a historic structure assessment grant, which would not exceed $4,000, and that would be toward the reimbursement of the cost of an HSA. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the property or about HSAs and probable cause in general, but that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Or any clarification about the probable cause? All right. And the applicant is here, is that right? And
Applicant is here. I just wanted to note that Commissioner Keller is also online,
Yep.
So we just check in with him. But otherwise, yes, the applicant is here,
Thanks.
so I'm happy to turn it over.
All right. And if you'll state your name and city that you live in for the record.
Awesome, thank you. I'm Jessica Bronson, and I'm currently in Boulder, Colorado, headed to Louisville. And yeah, we're just so excited to get the opportunity to restore this awesome property. I got to interact via text with the family a little bit. I bought it from Doris, who is currently living there, and sold it to us. And she, her family's been in there since 1905. She grew up there with about 8 siblings, and she's just the sweetest. And I texted her aunt and, her niece. I texted her niece about her aunt, and they're just so thankful. They said that Doris grew up in the house and lived there her whole life. Thank you so much for contacting them and keeping her family in mind. I definitely want to make sure that the house ends up a tribute to her style and her family. She was there a very long time, and she loves her garden very much, and get some of her pink and green influence and make it really magical. We want to try and restore it with the styling you guys saw in the photo. Maybe add those 3 windows back in like it used to be, and some siding. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. But we're really excited about the project and making it beautiful. So, yeah.
That's great. That's really sweet that you have connection with the owner and that the owner is still like the original family. So that's really a sweet connection. Pretty rare. Does anyone have any questions?
No. Commissioner Haley, I just wanted to let you know that Commissioner Dahlia's online now.
Oh, okay.
So he joined the meeting, just so
Okay.
you know. Yep, he's been
Great.
promoted.
Thank you. Any questions or?
Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you for
thank
your
you so
time
much
and
for being here.
consideration. I'm excited.
Thank you. All right, any comments from the public? All right, and we'll bring it back for commission discussion.
I'll start, and I'll say I think it's a wonderful property. I applaud you for wanting to move forward with the assessment piece as well as trying to landmark it. I would agree with staff that certainly this is an ideal property to consider. I think it meets all the criteria that Amelia brought up. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful property.
Yeah, I would echo that. I believe that it's a pretty good structure for this sort of a setup right now. Obviously, the mass is pretty much there from previous years, and it's really the siding and a few other things. Again, going back to a smaller, 3-inch type siding that echoes the era it came from, and a few other things would be pretty nice on the exterior of that. And then along with the windows, shutters or not, just I don't think there's much going on there except for it always cracks me up that the metal front porch salesman came through in the 50s and got every one of these. So I thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah, I definitely think it meets all of our criteria. And really, even the changes that have happened as far as the windows and the siding are probably historic at this point as far as how old they are. So even if it didn't get taken back to the original, it would still be a good candidate. So yeah, so I'm definitely in favor of this having probable cause.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion for probable cause.
Second?
And we'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Keller,
Yes.
Commissioner Dahlia,
Yes.
Commissioner Beauchamp,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Haley.
Yes. So basically, the next steps is staff will just be in contact with you as far as the HSA, which is up to $4,000 to do a structural assessment. And then if you decide to landmark, then that would be the next step after that. So we're really excited about this property, and thank you so much for doing that. These meetings are recorded too, so if for any reason the family wants to see it, you can always show it to them if they want to see the process, So at any point, that's just kind of a fun, it's not fun, but I don't know, just so they can actually see the process. Yeah, right, and it's their house, so they might be interested more than others. All right, our next item is our work plan and subcommittee updates.
Alrighty, so I will pull up the work plan Excel spreadsheet and also share my screen on Zoom. Give me a second to pull that up. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, so commissioners online, if you are not able to see my screen, go ahead and unmute and let us know, but otherwise I'll just keep on keeping on. Okay, so first up here is the coloring book. So Chrissy's not here tonight, but Gary, you and I can give any updates.
Yeah, we've are planning to meet later this week. I guess that is subject to change if Chrissy's sick, so we may have to postpone that. But anyway, I think we have some new drawings from the artist to evaluate, and text prepared for describing each of the 15 buildings that would be part of the coloring book. So I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, it sounds small, but it's a big step forward, actually, I think. So, yep. Okay. And it looks like we're on track for this list here in quarter 2, so that's also a good sign. All right, social media. Linda and Marty, any updates you want to share with the group?
Sure. So Amelia and Linda and myself have somewhat finalized the Instagram. We've committed to posting or having 2 posts per month, starting with May being our first posting. And I think we just need to decide when we want to post, and we're trying to set up a deadline to submit those posts. Can we do that right now, or do you want to talk about it after?
I think it's functionally, it's okay either way, but I'm happy to, maybe we touch base after the actual hearing,
Sure.
just to schedule our next step.
Okay.
Okay.
And did we talk about us being part of just the city site now? I don't think
I
we
think that's a new update. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to
that's
share.
a new update too. So we're not, communications decided that we're not gonna have our own, like, Instagram account. We're just gonna join into the existing city account. So we'll just do that, and I think it should be fine, actually, as far as having a larger audience and all that. So that's kind of do you want to say anything about that?
No, I think our only concern was whether or not our post would get buried amongst all the other general posts, but we're gonna evaluate it moving forward, and if it becomes an issue, we can try and set up our own page if that works.
So yeah, so I think it's a good start. And so, yeah, we'll start, we're creating the post, and then we'll have them ready to go by May. Hopefully beginning of May, just because that's Preservation Month. So just getting it out there.
I have a question. I recently found that the museum has an Instagram account page. Is it related to that, or would they be tied together, or sort of separate?
No, ours will be tied to the general cities.
Okay.
Yep. So, yep, we're just gonna start there and see where we go. So, yeah, I think we've tried to explore all the other kind of ways to do it, and I think we're just gonna go this way and go from there. So, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it'll be good.
Okay, so HPC training, Keith and Linda, Preservation 101 webinar. An update on that?
Yeah, I've got a update. It's actually a side update. So I did the online training, but I also got some hands-on training with the state tax credit for my own property. So through History Colorado. So if anybody has any questions on the procedure involved and how tedious it is, it's not that bad.
Oh,
So there is a tax credit out there for people to restore their property.
that's great. That's really good that we have firsthand
Yeah, on-hand training.
experience. Yeah, that's great. And we all have access to those trainings. They're live. I think most of them are in the middle of the day. I'm pretty sure, aren't they? Is that the one is that the one you went to, Keith? With Lindsay?
Correct.
Okay. So all of us can go to those anytime. What was I gonna say? And I was gonna ask Keith, did you feel like it was a good use of time? Obviously, personally, it was good, but is this something
No,
we
I
should
think it-
continue doing as
I
a,
think it's a good use of time. The online ones are not that long.
okay,
They're pretty easy to digest. I think it's very beneficial especially for new commissioners
all right. Yeah, thank you
and
for,
old ones like me.
yeah, that's great. 2 for 1. That's great. Thank you for going and letting us know. So, yeah, we'll continue pursuing that for sure. And then we also have the Preservation 101 that is quote unquote due next month. So hopefully we've had a chance to read that. I'll send out like a kind of exit ticket, just that kind of shows that we all watched it. And Amelia, I'll have that to you tomorrow. So, yeah, and then that'll just give us a chance to see if there's anything we need to revisit or questions or kind of holes in our training or anything. So, yeah.
Wonderful, okay. So I won't make any moves on that. I'll just wait for you to send it to me and then I'll send it to everybody else. Okay, perfect. And then I'll put it on the May agenda. Okay, user experience surveys. This is Randy and myself. I'll just start by saying we have a set of questions that we'd like to get feedback on that we'll put in, I think, planning to put in the April 24th agenda. So that's, I think, the next big step in terms of feedback from the rest of the commission. We'll actually add that as an agenda item so there can be a little discussion. But Randy, I don't know if you want to give a general update or what else is relevant for the group to know.
No, I think that's fine. I think we're making good progress. I think we're working well. We have the questions developed. We're going to test it out with a couple of our commissioners who have been close to the process. And we're going to invite all of the commissioners when we start to get into some of the interviews to participate so we can all be part of this firsthand, but we'll talk about more of that in the future.
Okay. And then Blue Parrot sign. I don't know if have we given the latest update we need?
I don't know if there's too much of an update. We did have a meeting with a few of the folks, the historical or history museum, Todd with, Kevin with the city of Louisville, trying to locate the sign, first of all, again, put things together. We did find out that, I believe it was Bridget with the history museum was interested in if there was an addition to the museum to house that item. And I think there was some excitement about the possible link of being able to use that element to promote other people's interest in moving forward with that addition setup. Besides that, I think the next steps were to try to find somebody that would come out, look at the sign, evaluate it, see what sort of steps would be left for, do we want to maintain and the character and just kind of keep it set up right now as far as its historical look and everything else that came with it, or actually restore it back to its previous set? We kind of had that conversation. I think it was really I believe it was most everybody's preference to just maintain it and bring it back to a working state, especially if it was able to be housed indoors versus outdoors and stuff like that. But I think we really just need to meet with somebody else that is more of an expert in that area and see what the two paths would look like a little bit more. I have put out a couple calls already to some folks that I had researched and found from somebody else. I have not received a call back yet on that, so it's just on me to follow up probably as we move forward. So is that pretty much?
Yep, I think it's a good summary.
So we do know where it is, though?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I thought you said we
We have
know.
located it.
It was
It
one of
is
those
safe. It is well stored. Yes.
And talked about being moved a couple different places, so we're just kind of pinning it down again, so.
Okay, great. So that is the run through of the work plan. Lots of fun things going on. I think that's actually it for the work plan. So sorry, Chair Haley, I'll turn it back to you to start the next item.
So the next is updates from commission members, which the only thing in there was the Historic Preservation 101, which we kind of already talked about that video. And then if anyone else has any other updates.
Chair Haley, we'll also need to go back to items of staff just when this is done. So we haven't finished them.
Oh, sorry, because that's subcommittee review updates, other updates. I'm sorry, other updates.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh, we already did that. Okay, I'm sorry. We're back to items from staff, subcommittee review updates, other updates, and upcoming schedules. Thank you.
We're awash in updates tonight. So.
I know, so many updates.
So many updates. Okay. me. Okay, so just the usual subcommittee, review updates. So we did have one alteration certificate for 701 Grant, which is the church up in Grant and Pine. They came forward with a proposal for a fence and a replica bell. And then the subcommittee basically gave a conditional release, so they approved the work that was proposed at that time, but then said, when you have more information about the next steps that you're proposing, we'd like to see another review of that. So that'll be coming again in some form. No demos released at subcommittee. And then the other thing I wanted to just give a shout out here is we did have a presence at the First Friday Art Walk. Commissioner Keller was able to attend, and you can see up on the screen, this is the museum put together a little table exhibit on the sales tax and the history of the sales tax. And so that was like, there's actually that little yellow thing on the table is one of the original brochures that people went around, volunteering and canvassing to get this passed. So kind of cool. And also gratitude and thanks to Commissioner Keller for being there that night, answering questions about preservation.
You're welcome. It was actually fun.
Good. A couple things about upcoming schedule. So there were a couple of notices that were partially for tonight, and so I, for the record, just want to note that there is currently a hearing item for April 24th for the 916 Main Street demolition review. So that'll be coming forward next week in an overflow meeting. And then there was also 929 Parkview, which was noticed again partially for tonight, and then will need to be. It's not really. It'll be renoticed for May, basically. So that's just for the record in case anybody came for those two addresses. And then for the commissioners, April overflow meeting is April 24th.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you for coming, and I'm really sorry about that. Okay. April overflow meeting is April 24th at 6:30, City Hall and online. Then the May open government training is the meeting that starts at 5:30. That's online and in person as well. The May regular meeting starts at 6:30 that day. And then also, y'all have gotten this over email, but again, just to be real clear about what the dates are coming up, we have the plaque ceremony for Thursday, May 25th at 6 p.m. So I'll be putting that, everywhere I can think of to let the community know. And those of you who can come from the commission, I know a few of you at least can. It was tricky to get everybody coming to everything, so I know for a few of you you're not able to make it that day, and I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so hopefully that clarifies a little bit of the confusion that's been going around for our busy schedule. And
Amelia?
yes.
I had on my calendar a May 5th plaque ceremony. Was that a placeholder and no longer accurate? Or did I just get it wrong?
Let me take a look.
I think that might have been like when we did the poll, like the date that came, like
Okay.
the most of us could, but because the property owners weren't available,
Okay.
it kind of got revamped because
Okay.
those were the days. Does that sound familiar?
Possibly. I'll
I
take a
think
look at it.
'cause, Chrissy
Okay.
said that same date too.
Yeah.
When we were talking the other day. So I think that's what happened is for
I
most
see.
of us, May 5th was better, but having the property owners
Thanks.
seems important. We were talking though about potentially setting for like a specific date every year from here on out, like the second Wednesday night every year for our annual, so that when people landmark, we can just tell them like, this is the date that will give you your plaque.
That's a good idea.
So that's kind of one of the things we might want to start thinking about, because it does get kind of tricky with, who of us can come and the property owners and all that. So that might just kind of make it a little more seamless. And I said having it early in the month would be nice to kind of set the stage for Preservation Month instead of at the end in the future. So anyway, that's just how it kind of shook out
And
this
it's
year.
after snow season, hopefully.
Right, but it is the last day of school, so we were saying that could be potentially complicated for some people, but anyway, I think that's how
Okay.
that happened.
Thanks.
So you didn't imagine it?
Just gonna try to get us away from the screen, but I won't be able to. I can't figure it out. But yeah, anyway, yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably a good direction to move in, is just having a single day in May. We don't have to go back and forth 500 times. We can just sort of pick one, move forward, and make it a big celebration. And I think that's it. That's all from staff.
One thing I was going to say too, didn't you say that we will have something at the museum that day too, which will be a different, for the landmarking ceremony? Like we'll meet there, or did you say that?
Yeah, so it'll be, I guess on May 25th, we'll meet at the Louisville Historical Museum.
Right.
And then we'll start there. I think in the past, we've started at the properties or at City Hall. Instead, we'll start at the museum and then go on a walking tour, a little mini walking tour to the landmarks. So we can kind of set up a little party there at
Right.
6 o'clock.
Yep, so that'll be a little bit different format from previous years. All right, anything else from staff? Are you good?
That's it for me,
All right.
thanks.
All right, so any updates from commission members besides the training video?
We had discussed maybe at the last meeting, both or two activities within the city for the Old Town zoning changes. And it sounded like maybe we had an action item to evaluate the area ratios that were proposed. And also there was a mention of the auxiliary dwelling unit activity within the city. Are there updates for those or action items for us?
No action items right now. I think the next time that HPC as a body would see it would be either if we bring it back pre-full draft ordinance. I don't know what that would look like, but definitely at the very least when we're in the process of bringing it back as a draft ordinance for the Old Town specifically.
The
zoning
one?
part, yep, the zoning piece for the Old Town overlay. I don't think we have any deadlines or updates on the timeline for that. We're working with the consultants to get updated graphics so that we can take it back to council for discussion direction, and then move on with a continued engagement around some of the questions depending on the feedback that we get from council.
Do they plan to present to us and the Planning Commission again?
Yes, but likely not before we go back to council. We're going to do a little bit of a retouch again because it's been a while since council's seen these things, and also I think the last direction that we got from them was to kind of bring it back for another discussion piece about so our best estimate of how to move forward is to go to them first, do discussion direction, and then come back for general outreach, and then eventually back to HPC, Planning Commission, and then City Council.
Thanks.
Anything else?
The auxiliary dwelling unit part is separate, isn't it?
Yeah, no, these are really great questions, and I would say too, if you're interested as residents of Old Town, right? You know, Gary and Keith are both residents of Old Town, residents of Louisville in general. I'm happy to talk more broadly about how you can get involved and engaged as not commissioners, but as residents. So if that's of interest, let me know. But I would say that yes, okay, the ADUs are technically a slightly separate track from the Old Town overlay, although as we've discussed, they definitely are and can be potentially interrelated. The update for the accessory dwelling unit, it's another one of those sort of frustrating non-updates, but kind of what we've been doing a little bit is, as you know, we heard from some of the fire-affected neighborhoods first about what they felt about ADUs, put a pause on that just based on the general feedback and also the feedback from that group that we got. And we kind of were waiting a little bit to see, what would happen at the state level from housing. And so we've kind of just been on a little bit of a pause, kind of regrouping, if you will. And I think now we're moving forward again with in tandem with the housing study to sort of do some kind of work around ADUs in conjunction with all these other conversations, since it's the direction we've sort of generally gotten from community feedback and other avenues. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
All right, so our last item is to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Keller and Dahlia, for being here.
You bet.
and have a good evening.
Y'all too.